So, welcome everyone. In this series, we're going to talk about network communication, and in this episode, we're going to talk about TCP. First of all, what exactly is TCP? Well, in general, we use two types of protocols in network communication, which are TCP and UDP. There are other packages like ICMP and ARP and stuff like that, but most commonly used are TCP and UDP. So, TCP, standing for Transmission Control Protocol, I think. TCP is nice because it makes sure that data which is sent is received in the same order and the integrity of every package is controlled. So that means if you're, let's say, you're sending a file, you're uploading a file to a specific server, then you of course want this file to be in the exact same order and have the same hash value if it arrives on the server. But because otherwise the file will be compromised and there could be data loss or something like that. So we're gonna have a look at TCP. TCP also includes a handshake, which means you cannot just send data to any server before you did the handshake. So we need the socket library from Python, which is already installed if you install Python. So it's a default package and no need to install it via pip or something like that. So first we're going to create a socket, which is socket.socket. This is the socket class. And then we're going to initialize this class because now we can choose which type of socket we want. Because there are several protocols, there are several socket types. First of all, we need the family. For the family, we will choose socket AFINet, which is for IP protocol. So we want a socket that can handle IP communication. We don't care about the MAC address or something like that. So no layer 2 protocol, but layer 3 protocol. We have an IP network, and we want to send IP packages. More specifically, which type of package do we want to send? We want to send TCP packages. So now that we have the family, we can define the type. So the type is a subclass of the family, you could say. TCP and UDP both belong to IP protocol, and IP belongs to Ethernet protocol, I think. Well, I think. Never mind. So we need a TCP socket. So we're gonna use SockStream. SockStream is for TCP sockets. So let's just say TCP socket. In a later video, we're gonna cover UDP sockets as well because they significantly differ from TCP sockets. But for now, let's stick with the TCP variant. The first thing with every socket on the server side you have to do is bind. Because, no, that's wrong. What? Oh, I got caps lock on. Never mind. So because our socket needs to know his own or its own address. So what is my own address? We're gonna give him the IP on my local area network and of course a port. For the TCP port, I'm gonna choose 700. This thing that has to be passed into the bind function is a tuple. So it's just one argument. It's not IP and port, but one tuple containing both IP and port. If you look at the documentation or the footprint, you have an address which is a union of address and bytes. Well, that's kind of weird. Okay, so now that we have our socket bound to this address and this port, we can now start the handshake. And the handshake procedure is specific to TCP. As I said, TCP requires a handshake, UDP doesn't. So we're gonna do the handshake procedure. Therefore, we have to specify an amount of maximum clients we can wait for. So now I chose 5. And this basically means just if we have 5 open connections with 5 or no, it could be the same host with 5 connections, but if we have 5 connections and the next connection comes in, we're gonna just drop this and say, no, we're not open for any more requests. Now that we have the server defined with the listening, we can start the actual handshake or the acceptance of the request. So we're gonna say while true, we want to handle all the requests. Now TCP produces or generates another socket if somebody connects. So ADDR stands for address, and C is now the client socket. That's what the C stands for in my code. And we're gonna say socket accept. So this is accept function will give us a socket object C and an address information, which is a tuple like this one. So this is the tuple we use to identify the host address. So this is the server address, and this address here we receive from the accept function is the client address, and a new socket object which only has one client. So this socket here, you could call it the public socket. Everyone can connect to this socket, and everyone can send a handshake request. So for example, I want to connect, please. Do you have some free space? And we're going to say, yeah, we have a maximum of 5 clients. You are number 3, so feel free to connect. And then we're going to start this handshake procedure. And C is a socket that only answers or is only able to communicate with one specific client. So that said, let's make a cut here and call it 1. So we're now at step 1 or point 1. We're gonna do the same for the client. So what do we need for our client? On the client side, we have a socket. Let's call it S as well. Socket. Now this socket has to be the same family and the same type as the socket on the server side. Sock stream. Okay, so these one are identical. I'm gonna do this like, wait a second. I'm gonna call this 2, and this one here we're gonna call that 1. All right. So now that's just to visualize the different steps and what's going on where and when. So now we're at point 1 right now. I think I can do that, yeah, but reformatting the code will, okay. Now what we're going to do is s.connect. So now we're connecting to this specific host address we specified right here. So this tries to establish a connection and do the TCP handshake because we have a TCP socket. So now we're here at point 2. Right. So that's it for the handshake. Now comes the actual, whatever we want to implement. Let's say we just want a simple echo server. So while we are connected, what we want to do, let's say, first of all, we're going to print that somebody connected. Print somebody connected from, and now the address. So let's print the address real quick. And here we can print connected. All right. Now, what I want to do is data is now that's a common problem. Please keep in mind that C is now the client socket, and once we have a new client connection accepted, we're only going to use the client socket, not the public socket, if you will. So we're going to use C dot receive, and now this receive function takes, does it actually? Yeah, it takes. It has to take a buffer size. That's, well, you could, if you're sending large amount of data, large packages, it's most often the best option to have a very high buffer size, but for normal text communication, it's always fine to use something like 1000, 1 kilobyte or 10 kilobyte or something like that. So yeah, let's just print the data. And also let's, no, that's fine. Okay, now on this side, we don't have a specific socket for every client because we are the client, in fact. So let's just say s.send. And now what do we want to send? We want to send bytes. In fact, we can only send bytes. So we have to send bytes. And now you have two options. If you want to send just text that is defined in the code, you could just go in B, and now you can type a simple string like hello world. Hello world, nice. Or what you can do if you have a message like this one, you don't have the option of, well, you could. Can you? Can you? No, you can't. Okay. Now you will have to stick to the good old encode. You can put this encode behind every string, and this will encode the string to binary format, which can be sent via socket. Okay, now let's go for it and start the server, start the client, connected. Okay, nice. So this went through, and this as well. Now we have hi, but as you can see, we have a little b in front of that, so that means the data we just printed was a hi, a string, but in binary. So it was it wasn't a string, it was binary. Yeah. So if we knew that the data we're receiving right here, if we're 100% sure that this must be a string, we can just call it decode, and it's fine. But if you're not sure whether this receiving message is a string, well, we're gonna get to that. So now we just have the string right now. If you don't know what I mean by that is, let's say we have a binary string, and instead of just printing hi, which works fine, if we don't encode that, we are already in binary right here because we did the b in front. Now that works fine, but what if we send real binary? And by real I mean real binary. Let me just find an ASCII to binary real quick. Convert. So yeah, this here is an A in binary. ASCII to hex, what about that? ASCII to hex generator. Okay, so a 41 is a capital A, is that right? I don't know, let's find that out really quick, I'm curious. So a capital A should be binary 41. Now we can decode that and print A. Then we're gonna exit, so not to run the client. Yeah, that's okay. So that's a capital A binary 41. So this 41 is just this binary string in hex, in hexadecimal. So yeah, this is a capital A. Now let's take this one as our message and see what happens. If we took this one as message and start the server, start the client, and the server says, yeah, capital A, nice. Okay, now we have a typo. We have, instead of a 4, we have a 9. I'm curious, can we decode that message? Oh, what the? I misspelled message. Message.decode. Now what happens? Well, we cannot decode this char. This is a non-UTF-8 char, and therefore we cannot decode it into a string. And the same thing will happen on the server side. So if we just went through it and sent this whole shit, the server would crash. And this is very dangerous. If you're building an application, please make sure that you have something like, for example, you put all this thing in a try loop, and then have an exception for Unicode decode error, print invalid character, because instead your application would be so easy to DOS. You could just, you saw it, literally one malformed request can crash your whole service, and that's dangerous in fact. So if I send this malicious packet over and over, it just says, well, invalid character, I don't give a damn. So message is some string, and we're gonna encode that, and that's fine. So yeah, this works if we run the client again. Okay, nice. This of course works the other way around. So we have our data, and now we want to send the data back. We want to send a string. We're gonna say, hey, you send me, and now we have the actual data that we received and decoded, because right now we're putting it into a string. And now we're gonna encode this whole string. So we're gonna send binary data, and then we're gonna print s.receive.decode. All right, start the server, start the client, connected. Hey, you sent me a string. Nice. Now we're gonna send something different. Nice, this works as well. So, okay, one little thing, this address here, as you can see, this address is a tuple object containing the IP address and the port. And you can see, although we specified that this server should listen on port 700 and this client should connect on port 700, you can see that this port is not 700. Why? Because as I said, during this handshake, the application opens another port only for this connection. And this connection, this one single client connection, is then routed, and all the traffic is routed through this one port. And you can also see we started the application over again, and the system changed this port number to another one. So I don't know what exactly are the parameters for this choosing process. I don't know, but this port definitely doesn't stay the same for the same IP address. So that's difficult to predict which port the actual client will have. To wrap it all up again, TCP requires a handshake. We have to specify the maximum amount of clients we want to serve. We have to perform a handshake where we get another socket object, which is only for this one specific client, and we get the address. And then we can send data by sending a binary string or any binary data, in fact, and we can receive data, but have to specify a buffer size. And we can, of course, only if we receive something that's already binary encoded. So that was it for the basic TCP socket overview. We're getting a bit deeper in further series and episodes. Next one will be the same thing basically, but implemented in UDP and not TCP.